Awesome. Okay, so Tony is the project manager for Smart Beaches in Australia. Tony previously worked as a logistics officer in the Royal Australian Air Force. He's an avid surfer and loves to tackle super complex and challenging projects, of which beach safety is one. Welcome, Tony. Go ahead.
Thanks, everyone, and yeah, thanks for joining us. So over the past few decades, technology has been improving at an unprecedented rate. It's become more capable and more affordable. This provides us some great opportunities to radically change our approaches to beach safety management. But it can also be pretty overwhelming. With the smart cities ideas booming around the world, it can seem like everybody's doing everything, and it's very hard to get a foothold in exactly what's happening. It can be very hard to get an understanding of the range of technology that's available, and also even harder to find out who exactly has tried something and how did that experiment go. As part of the Smart Beaches project, we tried a whole bunch of different technology, but we also took the time to scan the landscape to see what else was happening out there. So to help navigate beach safety technology, created a mind map that categorizes key groups of technology and provides a couple of examples of each. So the map's divided into 6 sections, and today I'll go through each of these sections and I'll briefly talk about some of the challenges we've faced and some of the opportunities I can see for each area. Now, each section's based on output rather than a technology type, and I think this is really important, this output focus, because it really helps focus on the operational impact and steering a delivery of technology with a clear purpose in mind. You might recognise these sections from the breakout sessions later today, so it's sort of helped us guide the breakout sessions. So if there's anything in here that interests you, then check out the relevant breakout session to find out some more information later today. The last thing, I guess, is that this diagram is by no means complete. So I want it to continuously evolve as we learn more about the application of technology in beach safety, and we get more and more examples of things that have been tried and things that are working. So if you do have an idea or you do know of something that's not listed, please let me know and I'll update it. I'll be hosting this diagram on our website at www.smartbeaches.com.au. We're currently in the process of just updating that website. But the diagram will be hosted there so people can use it as a reference. And also for our members, there'll be some brief breakdowns of each of the different technologies. So I'll start with environmental conditions. What are the conditions at your local beach? What are they going to be like later this week? We've got general Bureau of Meteorology or standard sort of weather information, but there's also some pretty impressive complex localized models out there, and you can also install bespoke sensors, so individual weather sensors at your beaches. These technologies provide reliable options for assessing and recording local environmental conditions. The big challenges I see here is that it's often assumed to be really easy and readily available. Everyone thinks, well, the weather information's it's out there, you can just find it. And to a degree, this is true, but the challenge is bringing the best of that data together into a coherent manner. That can be really difficult. So the challenge is really around data integration. I'll be talking a little bit about data integration today. And this is really about bringing multiple divergent data sets together and also looking at the challenge of where's that data going to be stored, how are you going to construct your new database, and how are you then going to retransmit that information. Data integration, again, like the weather stuff, is often assumed to be easy. So I will just plug that into the system and send that information out. But it can be quite a challenging part of the project in its own right. It's really the glue that holds any of these smart cities, smart beaches applications together, is being able to pull multiple data sets together. And weather data seems to be or environmental data seems to be one of the first that runs into that problem. The real opportunity here is in reducing lifeguard workload. So from a research perspective, this data is often available retrospectively. So when Will and Rob are doing research, they can go and find this weather data and normally bring it together manually. But if we can bring it together in a coherent manner in a way that's useful for lifeguards, we can help reduce their reporting workload each day. This will also help with some standardization across lifeguards, so everyone's using the same data, getting the same information. Visitation. So the number of people visiting a beach and therefore exposed to ocean hazards is a key component of any beach safety risk assessment. However, these are routinely based on estimates from the lifeguards, and they're available only at patrolled locations during patrolled hours. So in my opinion, beach visitation data is currently one of the most important missing components of beach risk safety assessments. And this one's by no means an easy task. So beaches are large dynamic environments, and people counting technologies that are out there are generally developed for small defined spaces such as walkways, shops and streets. It quickly becomes really complex and or expensive to cover an entire beach. Another challenge we have in visitation counting on the beach is requirements definition. So exactly what area on the beach do we want to count? Do we need to count people in the water as well? What about on the promenade? What about at the cafe? How far down the beach do we want to go? Do we need to count every hour, or do we just count a couple of times per day? And what's most important, is it the average number of people at the beach at any one time, or is it the total number across the day? All of these questions are pretty easy to blur out when we're estimating numbers and working with rubbery figures, but once you start applying technology, it's critical to define these parameters. So it means we've really got to start thinking about how we define this stuff. Privacy is also a concern with this sort of technology, but in my experience, it's been fairly easy to mitigate with by adopting some fairly standardized and readily available practices. The clear opportunity here is to improve the accuracy and consistency of the data, and therefore the accuracy and consistency of our beach risk assessments. The biggest opportunity is to make data available for unpatrolled locations and unpatrolled times. This enables thorough risk assessments of the coastline that's managed by a government agency, not just the areas that are currently being patrolled. And this sort of data as well also has crossovers to other areas. So, it's important for beach safety assessments, but it can also be used for economic, environmental, social decision-making across the city. We've found so far that image analytics is probably the most promising of the emerging crowd counting technologies, but there are some others out there. So lifeguard activity. In today's world, it seems like there's an app for everything, and lifeguarding reporting is no exception. There's a number of technologies that exist that can digitize your daily reporting. There's also the opportunity to integrate environmental and visitation data into those reports so that lifeguards don't have to record them themselves. There's also some really interesting opportunities to integrate GPS sensors and smartwatches and other tracking information to help improve our understanding of lifeguard operations throughout the day. The challenge here is data integration. So from a lifeguard perspective, this technology has to work. Their main role is not fiddling with technology and playing with databases each day. They're there to patrol the beach and to help people. So while most lifeguards appreciate the importance of data collection and the way that it influences decision-making, if it's not easier than paper, or it doesn't add any new value, or it consistently crashes, it's going to be quickly replaced by paper again by the lifeguards, and quite rightly so. The clear opportunity here is for more reliable and readily available data for decision-making. We'll reduce human error, reduce cognitive load for the lifeguards, and the biggest opportunity is to use the technology to move towards some consistency across services. If we have same data collection across multiple different agencies, then this opens up opportunities for collaborative problem solving. So risk management technology. This is really the cutting edge of beach safety tech. It's the world of AI and neural networks. Is it possible for a computer to understand and predict the risk managed by lifeguard services? There's two distinct areas here. The first one is forecasting. So this is predicting risk into the future. This could lead to more dynamic rostering, better public communication, and improved business cases for resources. This is understanding, next Wednesday it's going to be really busy and really dangerous at the beach, but by Friday it should have calmed down. We can then look at balancing our resources a bit more effectively. Active monitoring is more about monitoring current conditions and using technology to bring particular scenarios to the attention of lifeguards. This has strong potential at unpatrolled locations and also supporting areas where lifeguard resources might be stretched pretty thin. So risk management technology has the potential to fundamentally change the way we approach beach safety and to directly save lives. The challenge is that ocean safety is an extremely complex system. Rob highlighted that really well earlier. And this is compounded by historical data quality and disagreement, understandably, amongst lifeguards as to the process to be followed. So what exactly defines a dangerous day? Do we use a 3-point or a 5-point or a 10-point scale? Are we talking about the risk from a lifeguard point of view or from the beachgoer's point of view? As with much of the technology, these problems come into sharp focus when we want to codify a system. We also have the problem of rubbish in and rubbish out. So these tools are only as good as the data they're based on. So we really need to focus on those earlier data collection technologies to then really be able to spool up this risk management technology. The good news here is there's lots of researchers out there keen to look into this problem. Far from being a threat to lifeguards, these tools are actually more likely to strengthen the case for lifeguard services. The key opportunity is for services to collaborate on the way that risk is assessed and to respond, the way it's assessed and responded to, so that we can more easily codify that system. There's a breakout session specifically on this later on, so check it out for some interesting talks on this field. So public communication. Beach safety can be greatly improved through a well-informed patronage. Technology offers modern opportunities for communicating beach safety information to the public. The challenge here is really just the variety of the audience. So how well do they swim? Do they understand the ocean? Do they speak the local language? What activities are they trying to do that day? All of these factors make any one message really difficult to communicate accurately. The opportunity here is to rethink normal. So we can get a little bit stuck in our ways sometimes. We do things the way we've always done them. Technology, particularly in this field, gives us a great opportunity to break that down and think of different ways to communicate our messages. So what other tools could we use? There's tons of different apps and websites out there. One thing I would question everybody on is, are you making your message broadly available rather than just pushing it to one app or one website? Are we trying to make our message as broadly available as possible so it can connect with as many different people as possible? We'll hear later today about using virtual reality in beach safety training. There's also been some interesting work on this front from groups like Ocean Live using flashing signs on the beaches, and other areas still have dynamic electronic signage at their beaches. There's an incredible scope here for innovative ideas. And this last section covers technology to improve the customer's beach experience. So talking here about public Wi-Fi, parking sensors, self-compacting bins and sun cream dispensers. There's a range of technology available that will directly and immediately benefit those enjoying a day at the beach. The challenge here is that because it's not directly related to beach safety, we don't have that clear operational objective. There's a ton of technology that falls into this category. It also means there's blurred lines between what's specifically relevant to the beach and what's just generally relevant to a city. So who's responsible? Is it the waste management team, the tourism team? So without that direct link, the opportunities become a bit endless. It can also lead to too many shiny toys here. So any sort of shiny toy can be stuck at the beach. What we really need to think about is, how will this help? The opportunity here is you've got a direct impact to the public. So some of the other technologies we're installing are all about improved data collection, improved understanding of data so that we can make better operational decisions, have lifeguards in the right place at the right time. This section is, and so that's not as visible to the public, whereas in this section, you're directly integrating with the public. So you can use this sort of technology to engage the public with other sources of technology or with your beach safety message. There's also opportunities here that a lot of vendors are opening up profit sharing arrangements or managed service type arrangements. So that really de-risks the application of this technology from a council point of view. There's chances there to give things a go with a pretty low upfront cost. So here's the map in total again. There's a vast range of technologies available to support beach safety operations. There's lots of challenges to overcome. It's by no means something that's off the shelf and ready to go. So we need to be experimenting and we need to be trying new things and be willing to fail. But there's also a lot of opportunity to be gained. My key takeaways from this talk is to really focus on that output. So focus on what is the operational output you're looking for here, not exactly which technology are you wanting to try, what output are you trying to gain. And the second key takeaway is don't underestimate data integration. Think about how you're going to structure that data flow, how you're going to store it and how you're going to manage that. It's surprisingly complex. So I'll be hosting this map on our website. There'll be short case studies for the members in there. And I also hope to keep developing it. So please reach out and help me keep pace with this rapidly developing field. And again, for more information on some of these technologies, check out the breakout sessions later today. Thanks for listening.
Excellent. Thank you, Tony. Round of applause virtually from everybody watching. Thanks to Rob and Tony for these really nice sessions that I think have framed the rest of our day as we move into the breakout session.